So welcome to MediaPod Nepal. I'm Sugam Tamrakar. So the topic for today is your childhood memories. I mean the good ones, I would say. So like people always love talking about their past and how things were before, and the places they have been to, or like the chocolates which they've had, or the prices then, and how much it took or how much it costed then. Your favorite games, I'm not sure, maybe toys, or things like that. So it's always interesting to talk about your past and like usually childhood, because you only have your childhood once, and you tend to remember it for the rest of your lives, which I tend to do as well. And I can recollect so many things, like being a guy like brought up in the late 80s and the early 90s. So a lot of changes I remember seeing, and coming to a point where we are right now. God, I feel I'm very old. But the thing is, like, there were so many things in the past which have all been lost, and they don't exist anymore. But still, the memory, it's amazing to like think about those things. Like if you just have to compare something, let's not even go that far as well. You just like sometimes you think about the first cell phone or the mobile phone which you used, and if you recollect it right now, and if you see it, which you are using right now, it's a fond memory to share, or it's a fond memory to go back or relate to as well. So like things like that is what I would like to talk about today. So please hold on to it. I would also like to put questions via this podcast, and like maybe you can message me regarding your childhood experiences, things which you don't get anymore, like the chocolates, or the petrol prices, the games which you played in the computer. Well, I grew up with I think it was Delta Force, which was a wonderful game then, and I remember playing a lot of other games as well in my time. I think it was Age of Empire. Oh man, those were the days where the computer screens were so large. We had like big computers, and I remember the internet speed 56 kbps, if I'm not mistaken, and we had to have this big dial-up modem, which actually made a very horrible sound until you got connected, and you just see those dots of computer lighting up so that you know that you're connected. And there was nothing called online gaming then. I mean, yeah, it was just purely CD, or I would say CD-ROM. If you really want to go back, I think we were introduced to computer games or computers when I think it was class 8, and that was the time when everybody was like trying to learn computers then. I remember computer games. I think it was Prince of Persia, which was like more of a black and white monochrome gameplay, and you don't get to play much of it because like while we were doing computers, we're studying computers. I remember we had to take off our shoes and go inside the computer lab, and there was nothing much. I think it was like a bunch of 7 or 6 guys in one computer, and like I don't think so we had much fun playing that game. And nobody, like those days, nobody had computers in the houses, or like nobody had computers at all. It was just the schools which we had a chance to see the computer. I think it was floppy drives, A drives, D drives, something like that, and it was basic. I think it was a basic thing, like a command prompt or C. I'm not sure what it was as well. So no, like computer games were something which was I think my generation in Nepal would have had the first-hand experience of like computer games. Like growing up in the 80s and the early 90s, we saw a lot of game come in as well, and that was computer games for me then. Toys, I don't think so. I've not been fond of toys. I don't think I had any action figures or anything, because we didn't get much out here in Nepal. We didn't have much access to cartoons or anything like that as well. I think it was early 90s when we got this big dish in the house, and like we could see international channels and all like that. I think it was Star, that's what they call now. It's called Star Plus or Star Movies. I think there were a few of them around there. Yes, we had MTV for sure. I remember MTV, and I remember like watching WWF, which is actually called World Wrestling Federation. I think which it changed later on to WWE later on. I'm not sure why, but still we had those wrestlings programs coming in. I've always loved watching wrestling, especially if your dad's fond of wrestling. I mean, you're bound to be very much fond of wrestling as well, and our parents did as well. The generation of people at that time, wrestling was something which was very fun for us Nepalese as well. And this was the first time we were seeing WWF, and we're seeing Hulk Hogan, yeah. If I'm spelling it right or pronouncing it right. Ultimate Warrior, you had Undertaker was there for a very long time. I think he's still there. And it was interesting enough. And I think it came on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and it was at 2:45. Something like that. And sometimes, if you're early enough to come back from school, you get to see it. But sometimes when you're just not going to school, you can enjoy that as well. This was fun. And we had if you have to talk about entertainment, we had a lot of things going on as well, but it was more primitive. It'll sound so primitive to you right now for the people of this generation, or the kids of this generation. You probably have heard about it, but I'm not saying these were the things which are which my generation experienced. I mean, there are a lot of other, my brothers and my elder brothers, they must have experienced a lot of other things. If it was not satellite TV at that time, I think they must have got hold of TV. I mean, you can hire a TV then, and you can also hire a deck, or I think it's called a VCR. And then you can put a cassette on that and watch it. You can hire it. And later on, I remember we had the VCR in the house, what we call deck. And I still remember watching movies out of it as well. And sometimes the head which actually played the magnetic cassette had the VCR had a small head which would read that magnetic tape, yeah, and it'd be dirty. So I still remember finding a very nice new note. I think I remember my dad doing it, finding a real nice new note, and then he would clean it by hand manually, and the tape would play nicely. Those were the memories of my growing up, and funny things as well. Yes, if you most people would always talk about orange ball and the black candy balls and all that as well. At those time, there was nothing for us. I mean, this was just very cheap, and we never cared about it. But still, now when you don't get it, I mean, you kind of miss it. I would say that. And we had the foreign influx as well, White Rabbit, and so many things. If I have to remember, food stuff, I think we had something called Tiger cheese, which is no more. It was a Swiss cheese actually, and it was in more of a triangle, or a small. I think you can get those cheeses or kind of them out here in the supermarket as well, but we never had supermarket. It was just small cold stores and all that where we can get all these cheeses. It was not that cheap as well then. It was expensive back then as well. I still remember. Oh, another thing which I can say or talk about was the music. Oh man, those was the day. I mean, we didn't have any CD players or any cards or anything like that. No iPads, no iPod, no phones, no nothing at all. So I think we had cassettes, and cassettes has been there for a very long time. I think it was a longer time. I think after. I think it was just the 90s when they started getting CD players and CDs, compact disc, what we called in the market. I think there was a bigger gap, because I still remember my elder brother, my cousin brothers, big brothers, they remembered, or they had the remnants of using those big vinyl tapes as well. If I'm not mistaken, we had a small vinyl tape playing machine by National. I think my dad bought it from somewhere else, and we had them tapes, but I never saw it play, or maybe I don't have the memory of it getting played, but I saw those devices. Me, when I was growing up, it was all cassettes. Cassettes where you can actually re-record, or you'll have two cassette players. One would play it on and another one will record it. I remember sticking a small paper, in the cassette there was a small place where you have to actually put some stuff, or you can break stuff to record it, or things like that. I still remember, like saving all my canteen money and my, like some savings. And I still remember going to Bisal Bazaar, which is in New Road right now. And there was then on the top floor, there was some cassette shop. And I think we got those cassettes from Thailand, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think those days, man, this is like way beyond. This was like maybe 25, 26, 27 years ago, maybe. So I went there and I think I spent it up like 125 rupees just to get a cassette. It was called Thompson Record. The cassettes were called Thompson, like the cassettes which I got was from Thailand, and it was Thompson's cassette. And I think I remember buying an album by Def Leppard. Like those were the days, man. Come on, beautiful days and beautiful songs. And I mean, like there was a different charm to it as well. And what else I can remember, growing up in Kathmandu at those time, I would say it was pretty clean as well, very clean. I remember crossing like Bagmati, or mostly growing up, I would remember school and the assemblies in the morning where you have to stand in the sun and you have to sing the national anthem. I grew up with singing Shriman Gambhira Nepali, right? And most of I think people from my generation, they did that as well. Apparently the national anthem which we have right now is different, and it's changed, but I still remember Shriman Gambhira Nepali for some reason. I do not know. So talking about my childhood memories, I would definitely remember my school and those days. While we studying here in Kathmandu those days, there was this influx of teachers coming from Darjeeling and teachers coming from Bhutan, and my take on English is probably because of my teachers from Darjeeling and Sikkim and all from other different places as well. So those days, I remember my schooling days were fun, I would say. Not typically fun, but it all would start with the assembly, or in the morning you have to line up in the morning. The whole school had to line up in the morning. It was according to the classes, and then we had to stand in the proper sun and we had to sing the national anthem. I remember singing Shrimana Gambhira Nepali. That was the national anthem which we people from our generation had to sing in the school. And interesting books, I would say. We had Mahindra Mala, we had My English, if I'm not mistaken, and a lot of other things as well. What else I can remember from my school days? We had the chalkboard. Oh god, the noise the chalk made, everybody probably would not like it as well. I know it's not a fun memory I can have. And what else I can talk about my school? So although I've been to a lot of schools, so I've got hard time contemplating as in what to go on and say about it. But it was a fun time here in Nepal, in Kathmandu. Basically, it was fun. If you want me to talk about Kathmandu, then 30 years ago, I would say beautiful place, still beautiful place, still where I live, and still the place which I love the most. And those days, it was very clean. I don't think so there was much pollution because there were no much cars then, and a few bikes. We still had the black plated tempos which had a meter on the back. It was more of a covered it had a meter, and you had to sit in the back. And those were, I think they were stopped by 2000, if I'm not mistaken, and they were sent somewhere else, and the Safa tempo came in later on. Petrol prices, I can't recollect the petrol prices. I think the thing which I remember, maybe I remember petrol prices being around 63, something like that. I'm not sure which year it was, but I remember from 63. Apparently the prices have gone up. Last I checked was 178, I'm not sure. But anyway, so those were the days. If I have to talk about the food and beverage thing, we had Coke, we had all the soft drinks as well. It was Coke, majorly Coke and Pepsi as well then. We had Mirinda, which was popular then. A funny ad, I think, I can't say it, but it was a funny ad about Mirinda. And then we had Sprite. I think it was Fido Dido on Sprite and all like that. What else? Fanta, we had this. Fruity came in later, I think. I still remember YY coming to Nepal, and I think it was I was very small then, and it actually had the YY actually had a Thai child, a picture of a Thai Thai child preparing the YY at the packet behind. I think the YY did came to us from Thailand then. Now we have the whole YY factory done and all like that. But many years ago, I still remember YY coming from Thailand. Maybe the packaging was done in Thailand or something like that. I'm not quite sure about that. Don't want to go into history of the YY, but still, my recollection of YY was a packet which had a small Thai kid making explaining you the series of photos which were explaining you how to prepare the YY. I think that was it. I still remember, I think it was 1986 or around 87. This was when I think 86 was the time when Chernobyl happened, and there was this big meltdown, nuclear meltdown, and I think for sometimes we were not allowed to drink milk here in Kathmandu, and schools as well. We were given milk in the schools. I was very small then. I'll not tell you which class I was, but still, I think there was some mix-up for people. I think they thought there was some kind of a radiation leak to the milk which we were getting. I think it was from Holland or Norway. We were getting the milk from Holland or Norway, and like I think they found out some contamination or a possibility of contamination of radioactive things because of Chernobyl and the meltdown. So I think for a few months we didn't drink milk in the school or the houses. Oh, about the milk, I remember the milk bottles were glass bottles, and it had this silver cap on the top of it. And the first thing which you will do, it was beautiful then, like they were bottled milk, glass bottle milk, and there was this silver cap on the top. And if you remove the silver foil on the top, and they would come to a point where there'll be a very creamy cold layer of cream, which everybody must have tried it. I mean, at least those days. That was one thing I could remember as well. So I think it's enough of me talking to you about my recollection of my childhood memories. So I would like you to message me your childhood memories, or you can comment back in this podcast. So next time when I'm going to read the comments, I'm going to talk about your experiences here in the podcast as well, and things which I don't know, and things which maybe I have never heard. So I would like you to share your comments with me and talk about your childhood or your memories of the past, the beautiful past, and something which don't get it anymore right now. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. I would want you to please write me or message me regarding your childhood memories. So I'm going to do a part 2 of this as well, but I'm going to just read the comments which you've sent me and maybe recollect my understanding to it, and maybe like some other people's feelings towards it. So फेरि इङ्ग्लिसमा मात्र बोल्यो भनेर पनि भन्ला, त्यसैले सो आम गोना स्पिक इन नेपाली एज वेल. अब नेपालीमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ पुरानो कुराहरू गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ के तपाईँलाई याद छ? व्हाट वर द थिङ्स विच यु लाइक्ड? चक्लेटको प्राइस कति थियो? पेट्रोलको प्राइस कति थियो तपाईँको? लाइक थिङ्स लाइक द्याट. कस्तो थियो तपाईँको इन्भाइरोमेन्ट? हाउ यु लाइक कस्तो थियो त्यो जमाना, कस्तो थियो तपाईँको? Usually you might be older than me, or you might be younger than me as well. It doesn't matter. Age is just a number, you know it. So तपाईहरुले चाहिँ आफ्नो चाहिँ पुरानो मेमोरिजहरु चाहिँ मलाई शेयर गरिदिनुस् कमेन्टमा, or you can message me as well. म अर्को पडकास्टमा चाहिँ I'm going to try to talk about those comments, and let's just have fun going back to the past memories. पुरानो कुराहरु गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अलिकति you remember the past, I would say past, I won't say life, but past tense, and you tend to go back there. I think a lot of people think about it every day. I mean, मान्छेले सोच्छन् कि every day चाहिँ पहिला कस्तो थियो, पहिला के हुन्थ्यो, पहिला कस्तो प्राइस थियो, भेजिटेबल्सहरु कति सस्तो थियो, पेट्रोल कति सस्तो थियो. So all of these things तपाईहरुले चाहिँ मलाई शेयर गरिदिनुस्. So that's it, nothing more. So thank you for watching Mediapod Nepal. This is Sugam Tamrakar. I hope you liked my podcast. We'll be making some more fun podcasts. Please do give me suggestions and some ideas. This is new for me. I mean, I've been trying to do this for a very long time. I've just been contemplating and thinking about like how would I go about it. So I'm trying. So let's see what happens. I hope you give me some ideas and feedback as well. Thank you so much.